Into the Nexus is a production of amove.tv. Bookmark Amove TV for other great video games and esports podcasts. Into the Nexus is sponsored by listeners like you via patreon.com/ITN. Welcome back, everybody, to Into the Nexus, the podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. I am Garrett Weinzierl, sitting not next to me, but next to me virtually, over 3,000 miles away. It's my co-host, my cohort, my counterpart, Kyle Fergusson. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. Awesome to see that the game has decided that it does not take breaks for new people. 2.0 is just merely a setback to the many balance changes that are yet to come.
Dear God, man. Dear God. Yeah, it's ridiculous. So, let's preface this whole show. Let's slap a big asterisk on the top of the show. You and I are both not feeling great today. We're not feeling wonderful. This is probably the most evenly distributed feelings of crappiness ever experienced on this here podcast. Is that
most likely
an accurate statement? Okay, cool.
I would say so.
So, with that in mind, we might trail off a bit today. This might feel like an old episode of Starcast. I wouldn't be surprised if we got a little off topic and just started meandering down Ramble Lane. But
how can you not?
Exactly.
The memories are flowing. The sickness is heavy. I've slept for 16 hours today.
Good God, man. Good God.
Just keeps going. Keeps going, man.
Yeah, but so naturally, basically, I'm prefacing with that so that my story of my unawareness of all the changes makes sense. 'Cause normally, right? Tuesday hits. Sometimes on Wednesday, we get a PTR update. We all go look at it, and we our opinions all over our Twitter, right? That's how this works. That's how we do this. Sometimes
Pretty
you
much.
and I are actually streaming together. It's happened a couple times. We just start going over the stuff live. That didn't happen this week. D.Va hit. I was like, cool. Can't wait to try her. But I feel like crap, so I'm not going to try her. So I didn't actually try D.Va until today. And I didn't actually really see all of these PTR updates until today.
Right, which they then said, oh, these are ready to go. Let's release them on Wednesday. So we still have a PTR going right now with Secret D.Va on it. Also the Alarak and Tyrande reworks, which we'll talk about briefly today. But they just kind of let it go. The rest of it, anything that was balance related, has already been inserted to the game. You know, as usual, there's a post about it. There's tweets about it. All of us are kind of discussing what this means for the game going forward. But I do wonder, if you're not used to Heroes of the Storm, if 2.0 was your entry into this game, if you just woke up and said, what's wrong with my Lily?
Oh, yeah, that's a very good point. Well, this didn't... Oh, my God, I actually have to ask this week. This isn't a live game, so unless these new players are in the PTR, they're not going to be experiencing this.
No, they dropped it early. So everything but that D.Va, Alarak, and Tyrande is now inside the live
snap.
game.
You're blowing my mind, man. Yep. Okay, this is extremely unprofessional, but such has been my week. All right, so that explains it. All right, so just total insanity. You and I were actually talking about doing a double support video soon for our Patreon, which we'll probably still do because that still works, but...
yeah,
maybe not
with
Lily.
Tyrande now, maybe. I don't know, like out the window, possibly Lily. We are in such a weird mental space as everyone just sort of clamors around whatever's meta and what's become good. I don't even know. And then the map rotation's going as well.
Yeah. So you're right. Okay, 100%. Never mind. Obviously did not realize that. It's been a week. And now knowing that, yeah, if I was a new player, I'd just be like, Although, really, Kyle, I mean, if you're really new, if you really did just start at 2.0, would you notice these changes?
Right. Probably not.
It
wouldn't be impactful enough for you to react to them in most cases.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a quick match hero, are you gonna? I don't think you're gonna notice these things. And I mean, if you're still a quick match hero and you've been playing for like 2 years, yeah, you'll probably notice these things. But if you just started playing Lily like 2 weeks ago, I don't think it's not like night and day. It's not all your cups didn't just become giant boulders you're throwing at people.
I don't know if anyone would actually put themselves up to it. So I hope not in the world, but if anyone started this game with Alarak, they would be very much for a surprise next week. What a horrible hero to, cut your teeth on.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Oh man. He's not easy, right? And like, imagine that's the hero you double down on because your buddy's like, man.
He got harder, way harder in the PTR.
I know, that's the funny part. I feel, write in or tweet, you know what, we don't need a whole email. Tweet at us, ITNcast, if you're that person. If you just started playing Heroes of the Storm and your buddy's like, oh, Alarak, that's where it's at, learn that. And now all of a sudden, here you are 2 weeks later on a Wednesday going, what the hell happened to my hero? I want to hear from you because that sounds like the saddest, but at the same time, most awesome story.
But also you twist that even further and say, like, there's a 4-man group out there that was like, guys, we really need a solo lane player. Let's get our brand new friend in to be the solo lane guy. And sort of to reveal my hand on Alarak here, his new stacking quests, probably like Kael'thas, won't let you solo lane. So it's going to get weird.
It is. And we're already getting into it. So let's move into this week's Heroes of the Storm news and talk about the PTR patch, which is also a live patch, sort of, with the exception of one new hero and 2 reworks. Let's move into it.
Good news, everyone.
That's Angry Chicken.
I was really stoked for a second, though.
This is the show it's going to be today, guys. I apologize. All right, here's the Into the Nexus board, and let's go with a Kael'thas news bumper.
Boys! Ha-ha! Let's liven up this place!
The moment is upon us.
Yes, I'd mana tap that.
I'm really happy that chat room's enjoying this as much as I am because it's so embarrassing.
I'm really frightened by some of these things we're seeing in the chat room. Started off with Gul'dan. Oh my god.
Ooh.
Then went on to Alarak. Muffin Pickle here started with Lost Vikings as his very first character.
Whatever gets you into the game, man. It's not what I'd recommend. I think in the history of the show, you will never hear us recommend Lost Vikings as your first hero. Very specific use case. You out there, did you just come over from StarCraft 2? Are you used to controlling many, many things individually? Well, have I got a vacation for you? It's called Lost Vikings. But if you're from any other game, that's, oh, no.
Do you like Zergling Roach Hydra? Well, prepare to control one of each. And it's kind of exciting, but...
Yeah.
And I'm still really excited for that solo lane rework that we've heard about in the future.
Yeah, but... all right, cool. So let's... you've already done a lovely job in the notes of breaking this into categories. We're going to talk about buffs. We're going to talk about talent diversity encouragement. We're going to talk about nerfs. But let's start with the buffs. Illidan. What's going on with Mr. Illidan? Have they given him eyeballs? Is that how they buffed him?
So he can finally slit the little mask he's wearing. No, he got himself doubled attack damage on Unending Hatred, his version of Seasoned Marksman. So instead of 0.1 damage, you're going to get yourself a 0.2 for that.
That's massive, actually.
It is. There's a number of these sort of very tiny, but actually in math, massive changes today. Really, the reason why this can be so massive is because it's up against Immolation. And Immolation puts an aura around you that deals damage, just like it did in Warcraft 3, except for it doesn't cost mana. He has no mana pool, lasting for 4 seconds. That is Illidan's primary lane clear. If you kill the enemy lane and you're doing a solo lane, that means your minions go forward, they start attacking the enemy hero, you get pushed out, you can soak from safety. So Immolation is the go-to. Can Seasoned Marksman's buff with Unending Hatred be enough? I don't know. He's still got the reward. It's still infinite. Upon gaining 20 increased basic attack damage, you receive an additional 20 damage. When you're looking at quests like this, what you really have to deduce is, can you do it fast enough? Are you actually going to achieve Unending Hatred's reward 20 damage in a time period that means 20 damage actually has value?
Yeah.
If you suddenly add 20 damage to yourself late game, nobody cares.
This is an interesting add-on to the discussion we had last week with Dunk Train, where he put a very large emphasis on XP soaking as it relates to hitting your timings. In this case, as it pertains to Heroes of the Storm, your talents and questing talents are interesting because it's still about timings, but it's on you. It's completely on you. It's less about depending on the talent, your rotation necessarily. Now, this one obviously rotating correctly helps you because you're going to get more minions. You're going to get that stack faster. But
right, the weird thing about it is that you get it for minion kills and hero takedowns. These minion kills can be in your area. You don't necessarily have to touch them, so feel free to play safe on Illidan. Just hide in a bush if things are looking kind of scary. You're still soaking. You're still in the area to get those stacks. And this is not by any means to skip over his other level 1 talent, Battered Assault, which absolutely has its place with certain sweeping strike builds when you notice the enemy team has too much clog, particularly in the front line.
I'm all for Illidan tweaks. I can't tell you the last time I saw an Illidan even picked in my games in any mode. Not even just draft exclusively. I can't tell you the last time I saw him in quick match. And it just seems weird. Heroes, for whatever reason, Illidan is one of those heroes that I feel should be represented in Heroes of the Storm. Obviously, it's a very personal, anecdotal belief because we're about to talk about Nova, and I would be fine if they just deleted her from the game. But it feels weird not seeing Illidan.
I think most of them went on to Genji.
Most of the Illidan players?
Yeah.
I feel that.
And that I don't think that has anything to do with one being more powerful than the other or that you should choose one over the other. Certainly, you should be thinking about when you pick Genji that you want spell damage rather than a Tracer who does auto-attack damage. And Illidan is a pretty even mix of both, so you could kind of straddle. You're not really sure. They got an Arthas and a Nubarak, so they have resistance to physical and maybe, but oh, wait, what's that? They took, let's throw maybe something squishy in that front line. That'll be around. Maybe it'd be a little scary against a Kerrigan, but sure. Now you have 3 characters in the front, and you can do that Battered Assault kind of thing.
Yeah. As for Nova, at level 7, Snipe Master, the stacks are no longer lost when hitting non-heroic targets. It's a pretty big quality of life change.
One. Yeah, so right now, hitting an enemy hero with Snipe permanently increases that damage of Snipe by 15%, stacking 5 times. Previously, if they missed an enemy hero, it was all lost.
Right. If you whiffed or if you hit a minion, you're out of luck.
Whereas now, non-hero targets keep it going, which means Nova can actually... Please, Nova, please attack the boss. You can at least throw on a snipe now. It's okay. You don't have to zone. What are you going to do when 5 people come trundling through that bush anyway?
I love that that's the first place your brain goes. Like, finally, Novas will help boss. It still won't help that much, but you know what? It'll help more than it used to.
Yeah.
So I like that. Anything, because... I don't know. The old way it used to work just kind of reeked of old MOBA to me. It was one of those things where it just... hey, play a way that you naturally wouldn't for the sake of the way this is constructed. That's what I see when I look at things like Dota and League of Legends.
Yeah, it's that oddity that I think is a bit of a trap for designers where you go, man, the pros really need something in this game that allows them to shine above everybody else. Let's give them a really perhaps convoluted talent that in the right hands could be amazing.
Hey man, that's cool. They got a whole hero. It's called Alarak now, and we'll talk more about that later.
True that.
They got a whole damn hero if they want to be fancy. Let's talk about some heroes who got some talent diversity encouragement, which I think is the most hilarious way to put this. And Kyle, please carry this forward through the notes in the future, because this is perfect. Because it's like, it's a buff, kind of, not really, because it's probably the talents you're still trepidatious about taking. In some cases, it might be nerfs to pick things. This is a great way to put it. This is so PR that's hilarious to me. Like, oh, it's talent diversity encouragement. So let's start with Genji. At level 4, Dragon Claw had the damage activation requirement reduced from 415 to 375. That is a sizable reduction to the gate you had to hit.
This is currently up against Shuriken Mastery, which is a way to increase your damage pretty dramatically and an easy way to get it, particularly if you're throwing these things into massive targets. Stitches, Diablo, Asmodean. Actually, that is a classifier, and we don't talk about it much, but certain characters cannot be interacted with if they count as massive. In particular, they can't be gorged by Stitches. So you find these big body characters, and you just run up to them, just 3 stacks, 3 stacks, 3 stacks, get it done super quick, or you're killing people, and then you're hitting it anyway on all the squishies in the background. I like Dragon Claw. I want to see it used more. It could be a tiny bit of lane clear for him, perhaps, which could be useful.
Yeah. And then at level 7, a couple of things wanted to mention. Cyber Shield, the spell armor duration has been increased. It was at 2 seconds. It is now at 2.5 seconds. That's noticeable.
Cool.
That's a noticeable bump. And dodge has had the cooldown increased. It was at 5. It is now at 8 seconds. You're going to feel that. You are absolutely going to notice that increase.
Flow Like Water is currently the most popular level 13 talent. This allows whenever you hit heroes with Swifting Strike, your big dash, you get a cooldown reduction by 3 seconds for each hero hit. That level 7 change of Cyber Shield, now lasting 2.5 seconds, means that it can be stacked at level 13 with double jump for a full 5 seconds of spell reduction at 50%.
Damn.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pyroblast is bad, basically, right now. It may have its place, but when we get to D.Va, I'm going to inform you how bad Pyroblast truly can be.
Okay. Very cool. But before we get there, let's talk about Varian and quite a few other heroes, actually, who had his basic attack damage increase, which excites me. Always happy about that kind of thing. I like it when tanks hit harder. Yes, I know he's multi-class. I mostly just play him as a tank. And then at talents, level 1, Overpower. They reduced the damage bonus after parrying a basic attack from 25% down to 20%.
I like this. I think it's cool that we are upping his sustained damage and getting rid of his burst, because sometimes Varian charges you and you're like, oh. And other times you're like, oh my god, what just happened?
Yes. And that's not all. They didn't just ding down a popular talent. They did give some they gave some love to another. High King's Quest has had the basic attack damage bonus from completing all 3 quests. They've increased it. It went up from 30 to 45.
Yeah, it's not seeing much play at all, and very much for the same reasons we talked about earlier on Illidan. You gotta get this done wicked fast. And if you are weaker in the early game as this multi-class hero, you're not getting it done wicked fast anyway. Plus, this talent was the go-to Twin Blades, and Twin Blades of Fury hasn't been seeing a lot of play either.
No, it hasn't, which is a shame. It was the original build that I fell in love with Varian, and I still love playing it. It just feels so visceral. It has this kind of impact that I haven't found in really any other melee hero. There's something they did just a very good job. It's a beautiful coalescing of both the animation team and I think the sound team. I just want to play it because it has this impact that I really enjoy. But it just doesn't work, and you hit the nail on the head. You got to wait till you get to 10 to really be good at what you're speccing towards. That's too long to wait. I
like the way you said that. And there is a perhaps lameness in Varian. If he didn't divide at 10 into 3 different specs from a World of Warcraft game that we've all played and loved, would his kit just bore us all to tears? Maybe, but just the fact that it all works so well and being protected at level 4 and just going forever feels fantastic. I love this guy.
Yeah, I do too. I really have a great deal of love for Varian. And to come back to your hypothetical, I mean, I don't know, but I will say that I think if you take Taunt, if you go full on tank Varian, I think he's fine. I think it feels right when you get to 10 because he doesn't change dramatically. You just start being able to perform your role better because of health and damage mitigation, and Taunt is a fantastic tool to add to the kit. But there's something about getting to the other 2 damage options that just it feels like level 1 through 9 was a slog because your gameplay changes so drastically, and I don't necessarily know how to fix this. I mean, I don't know. Would you have a suggestion? How do you truly incentivize those of us out here to take High King's Quest? Do you give us another option at 4 that allows us to minutely increase our attack speed so we can actually complete the damn quest and maybe feel a little more Twin Blades-like before we actually get 2 swords at 10?
That's the thing. High King's Quest is going to up your overall damage, which feels really good with Second Wind and then Blades of Fury. You're going to go a Fury build with that. Lion's Maw is probably the only one that kind of straddles all 3 of the specs at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I'm pretty big on Fury right now because I just, under an hour ago, won a game where my Varian soloed the boss on Sky Temple, thanks to his Fury build and his High King's Quest.
And that is still 100% possible, and that right there, anecdotal as it is probably the balancing act that they're walking with this hero, and we've seen it. We've seen an overtuned variant. Granted, it was he has a point-and-click stun, no matter what way you go. But I feel like if you tune him just a little bit too far, all of a sudden he's a god.
And they're messing with some other things in here, too. In particular, the Warbringer. They're trying to incentivize you to take it now, reducing the mana cost of charge by 50% as well. Still, it's up against Shield Wall. I don't know what world you're in where just you have that much healing. Even in our double support meta, it's double support because we're taking off supports and their healing combined and their damage combined equal sort of one support and one assassin.
Right. So I'm not sure. Anyways, before we move on, level 4 wanted to mention Warbringer. They have added some functionality, now also reduces the mana cost of charge by 50%. That's a nice change, although maybe I just haven't been playing a lot of variant. I can't say I've had mana issues on the guy.
No, not really.
Like that's fine. That's very nice. Wasn't an issue I was having, but thank you. And then finally, level 7, Live by the Sword. They increased the amount of parried basic attacks needed to reduce the cooldown of parry from 2 to 4. They doubled it. You're going to notice that as well. That's one of those changes you're going to feel as soon as you get into the game if you were playing variant before this.
This is a good one, though, because it actually means it's a choice now. Live by the Sword was way too easy to get with 2 auto attacks. You could get that against spellcasters just by them participating and putting out auto attacks that they should in the first place. So now you actually can make a choice. You can say, 4, well, that's probably going to happen anyway with how many fast auto attackers we have in the game. Live by the Sword is probably my favorite level 7 at the moment. Maybe Victory Rush because the lane is right there on Braxis, but that protection just keeps going. And that's all DPS that was sunk into you with 0 effect that does not go on your allies.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about who got nerfed, Kyle. Cassia is up first. Cassia. Ball lightning. Damage reduction from 200 to 180. I'm okay with this.
I think that's okay.
Yeah. I've been playing a lot of Cassia this week, as a matter of fact, through when this change hit live, and apparently unbeknownst to me, and it's fine. Still totally fine. If you're smart with ball lightning, if you make sure to get it to jump as many times as you can, you're still going to be very effective with it. So I think if you were playing correctly before with this heroic, you're going to do just fine now. You're just going to have to pepper them a little bit more to get that kill.
I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of those changes that gets reverted eventually. Ball of Lightning is very powerful when we are in this exact meta. One, with new players, so there's often people out by themselves, and Ball of Lightning's very good at that, and we're very death ball-y on the other side of things. So it's going to get maximum value. People spread out. Kael'thas's win rate goes down. Cassia's win rate goes down. Things could be okay in a month.
Yep. On the flip side, Valkyrie had its damage increase sizable. As a matter of fact, 190 to 225. Clearly, I think they're trying to nudge us to say, hey, guys, please take this heroic. I'm still taking Ball Lightning.
It's real cool, guys, and it does do good work. I think it's the cooldown that is ultimately the bummer. Whereas at least when Ball of Lightning goes off, it really feels like it was your fault. And you're just like, I'm a bad Cassia. I did it wrong. Throw me in the dungeon.
Yeah,
but when Valkyrie misses, maybe a Brightwing pushed them or a Lucio ran by. It just, with that cooldown, it just feels bad. Even a minute. They're both equal now at a minute each, but discouraging.
Yeah, 100%. There's too many ways for Valkyrie to go wrong, whereas if you use ball lightning correctly and safely, you should get maximum value every time. And I think it's just that risk at the end of the day. As much as I love Valkyrie, I think it's a really well-designed tool and one I want to see in this game. So feel free to keep tweaking it, guys. I'd love to see it actually picked. Also, Charge Strikes, level 1, had its damage bonus reduced. It's went from 25% down to 20%. So it's right there with actually with Overpower.
And we were singing this praises with Dunk Train last time, so I'm sorry, everybody. We ruined it.
It's a shame. It was our fault, totally.
We brought it to their attention. The dev said, "Oh, that's not right."
I'm sure that's what it was, and data had nothing to do with it.
nothing at all.
Zul'jin, moving on to him. Basic attack damage down 110 to 106. Sell, sell, sell. No, that's totally okay too. I mean, you play more Zul'jin than I do. I still play quite a bit of Zul'jin. How are you feeling about this? I think this is a fair change.
I don't know why, right? But this is all just personal at this point. He's down 3% since this patch rolled out, making him a flat 50, which is healthy.
It's fine. And again, not perfect numbers. Although I would be surprised if it varied that wildly on the internal numbers that they're seeing over at Team 1.
Right, and this feels good. He was at the top of the win rates for a long time. You know, I need to put myself in that hammer space, basically, where I don't play hammer. If hammer gets nerfed, tons of people are upset, and I'm like, good riddance. So I'm sure there's people feeling the exact same way about Zul'jin today.
I mean, yeah, it goes with the territory. It's very hard not to have a personal reaction to any of these changes, depending on whether or not you like the hero, or you, more so even play the damn hero.
This one, though, Voodoo Shuffle, that they've made a tiny bit better, actually quite a bit better, but still isn't quite doing what I want it to. They've reduced the cooldown from 30 seconds to 10 seconds. This is the talent that allows you to break roots and slows. Break them, not become immune to them. And it doesn't auto-activate or anything like that. So you got to click it, and to actually get value out of the guy, you got to do it very quickly. I have had almost no success with this talent.
Yeah, it's the activatable nature of it. I don't know, Kyle. Maybe if you were like 15 instead of almost double that age, maybe your reaction time would be fast enough. But
maybe, right? But with our stuns so reduced, this doesn't even cover stuns, just slows and roots. And Malfurion is still seen plenty, and I've walked out of maybe one of these successfully. Ultimately, the stuns are so short, the roots are so short right now. I wish this had some sort of reduction built in, 25% less time in that exact effect.
Right,
it's just so slow.
Right, so it's just passive. So when you're in your quick match game and the 12th Valera that day stuns you, it cuts it, even though that stun was reduced. But sorry, I still ran into a lot of Valera this week, and I'm a little salty about it.
She's everywhere still. And, that's just a quick match hero, right?
Yeah, stars in her eyes. Back to the singing it to the tune of Jukebox Hero. Whatever the case is, let's move on and talk about Probius. Pylon Overcharge had the health bonus decreased. It was a 50% bonus. It is now a 30% bonus. And also had the damage decreased. Are you ready for this, Kyle? It's so huge. They changed it from 55 to 52.
A little nudge on Probius. Very odd with how we're all feeling about the little probe right now, as he has taken over many of the roles of zoning spellcasters, doing it better than Kael'thas now. A nerf like this was effective for bizarre reasons. He is down nearly 4%. I highly doubt it was the 3 damage. It may be the pylon health.
That's what I'm thinking as well.
Or it could be that Nullgate got a 1 damage buff, and everyone went huzzah and went and played Nullgate, and it's really hard to use.
It's extremely hard to use. I've been trying to force myself to learn Probius, man, and I'm finally starting to have fun with him when I'm in quick match. I still don't think I'll ever like him if I'm actually like try-harding super hard, like trying to win a Hero League game or something. I don't think he's for me.
It would take a lot of practice. He's very unique, and I find that to be a less valuable way to spend my time prepping for Hero League.
Yeah, but I started forcing myself to just kind of blindly go the photon cannon build, and I'm enjoying them way more. I get to do my base building game, Kyle. That's what I wanted from him. I'm sure it's not the optimal build to go for some of the scenarios I found myself in, but the point for me is I was just trying to find the fun, and I think I found it for me. So I'm enjoying
Tower Defense is a great talent, and it is fun.
Yeah. I do not care for Nullgate, though. Moving on to Ariel. Bestow Hope. The hope generation from damage dealt to non-heroes has been reduced from 8% to 5%. So a bit of a... That's sizable. When you're already working at 8%, you're going down to 5.
Yeah, I guess they're worried about her stored hope during the non-hero downtime.
Yeah, I think so. It's this is the thing. I don't know. I feel like I depend on this a lot as Ariel, or at least to feel comfortable as Ariel, because you know me, and I have a lot of issue placing trust in other people, and Ariel is nothing but. It should be called bestow trust, because you're just, here, take this crown. I'm depending on you.
Everyone is. We all are. In fact, that's why I go Energized Chord in probably about half my games right now, just because I love auto attacks, and I can control that I attack heroes to get myself that hope. Yeah, Empathetic Link is still great, and if I'm doing, Bursting Light, that's good if I'm healing a dive team, because I went Searing Light at level 1. So there's great talent diversity here. There's ways to make up for this. It just feels like they had some numbers we didn't.
Yeah. Lily, the biggest not surprise of the week. Damage reduction across the board. Cloud Serpent, damage reduced. Gale Force, level 1 talent, damage bonus reduction. Lightning Serpent at level 7, damage reduction by 1 point. Also, Blinding Wind had its cooldown increased, but its mana cost decreased. Or sorry, increased. Both increases. Cooldown increase, mana cost increase.
Interesting to not see a change on the damage there, but it looks like they targeted the right one. Gale Force at level 1. That means for the entirety of the game, Lily's going to be much lower damage. The current build with her is Gale Force into Mass Vortex for 4 targets, and then Lightning Serpent for the bouncing attacks, not because it does amazing damage, because Lily's kit was already good. You're just adding more damage on top of it to be this off support. Of course, this is all comboed with Surging Winds, which will still give you that awesome spell power hitting multiple targets. She's going to be fine. She will just be a little less easy to play in some ways. Those who have mastered Lily are going to continue to do so. We'll see her everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you. I think Gale Force combined with Cloud Serpent, that's damage reduction, that's starting at level 1 and going to be in effect for the entire game. That's the two big things here. So you expect to see significantly lower Lily damage numbers from here on out. Lucio. His W, Healing Boost, has had the heal amount reduced from 3 to 2.
It seems laughable.
It doesn't, though, when you think about how it actually works. No, it's not. And when you're, again, it's that discussion of percentages. When you're already working at a low number and you reduce it by a factor of 1, that's a 33.3 repeating, of course, % change.
They also got rid of his level 16 blind, and it was a 2.5 second blind at that. It was extremely powerful. And maybe it was Cassia, who has no mobility, and Lucio Cassia may have been running amok in statistics that we're not privy to. Either way, that's some serious damage back onto the enemy team at that level.
Yeah. So keep that in mind if you're running beside a Lucio or playing as him. Uther, level 1, Wave of Light. Mana return has been reduced from 10 to 8. Fine. I'm totally fine with this.
Right?
Again, I like this. I understand when we were looking at the mana help that Varian got earlier. It's like, why? It wasn't an issue. And this, I'm like, yeah, I understand that because I'm not having mana issues as Uther, and I used to. It's kind of nice, and I don't think this is a big enough change that it's going to be detrimental. I think this is good. This is a good change.
It strikes me as odd because I see almost entirely a Silver Touch Holy Shock build right now. And it's very oppressive.
It's got to be something we're probably not seeing.
Yeah.
I like this. I mean, I'm with you. I'm mostly just I'm picking all the book pictures in most of my games, but I do like Wave of Light, and I think this is totally fine. Nubarak, whom might be my new main, Kyle.
Really? What could have possibly pushed you towards him?
Arthas keeps getting taken or banned.
Well, that could be.
That, and everyone keeps asking for Muradin, and I'm just like, I'd rather do this, and it's going to fill a very similar void, everyone, and then everyone's like, okay, cool, go for it. So, and it just works. I haven't lost a game with him yet in Hero League.
He is very powerful. I wonder why we're seeing a nerf to him now. He's been at the top win rate for many weeks. I feel like if we are adjusting the supports like Lily, double support is going to be mainly spell damage, which Nubrek is going to do fantastic into. If we move away from that into another meta, a Nubrek's win rate will greatly lower.
That's a good point. Didn't think about that.
So to hit him with this now seems maybe at the wrong time, but it has to happen. He's been close to 60% over the last month. Right now he's at 56.
Well, I'm sure if we had a Team 1 dev sitting here that, you know, part of that balancing act, not necessarily a balance, but of when to make certain changes versus others, you know, that's a discussion I'm sure they have. You know, what can we do today to address some of the issues that we need to address? And I think this change to Nubrek is one of those things. I think this is something that they had an idea for. They figure they can implement this now and get the game more balanced than it currently is. Even though I'm with you, I think the bigger picture is what can we do about double support? But it's a bigger picture thing. I think it's going to come down the road. I think it's probably harder because we're talking about changing something that affects a large portion of the playable heroes in this game.
Very true.
Yeah. So let's talk about what actually happened with the Nubrek, because we haven't. We've been dancing around it. Locust Swarm, damage reduced from 55 down to 50.
Cool. His health return is not based on the damage he deals.
Yep. Also, when I've been taking a Nubrek this week, I've had 2 supports. I don't need Locust Swarm. I've been going Cocoon.
Interesting.
I just remove... It's been very fun, as a matter of fact. I don't know if this works at all levels, but take out one of their supports. Cocoon them. You've now got a double support versus a single support.
Okay, yeah. And usually the gray main or whoever is going to be a little too busy in a double support comp because he's embodying all the damage. Whereas in a single support comp, if you cocoon that support, I think everyone would turn and take it out very quickly.
Right.
So you might be actually onto something there and messing with the mindset of these current super assassins who are getting that much healing.
Yep. I think it's going to work. It's not going to work forever. The second we leave the double support meta, I would not recommend anyone do that. But for now, try it out, everyone. Maybe not in your Hero League, because I don't want people getting mad at me that I tank their rating. But go try it in Unranked. Let me know how it works out for you. Whatever the case, moving on. Talents. Level 1, Nerubian Armor. The cooldown has been increased sizably. 8 seconds is where it was previously. It is now a full 12-second cooldown. Get patient, Anubarak players.
Yeah, this is going to take a long time in MOBA world to come back online.
Absolutely.
And this is a talent diversity encouragement, though certainly a pretty sizable nerf to Anubarak in his current playstyle.
Yeah. Still feels good to me, and I think it's the meta. I think he's going to do okay. But that's a big change. So I think of all the changes I've looked at here today, and again, this comes into personal preference. I've actually been playing a lot of Nubrek. This is the one that I have personally felt the most, and it has felt the hardest to kind of wrap my brain around. Level 4, Bed of Barbs. Increased that the damage has been decreased from 23 to 21. Another kind of small nudge in line with what we've seen with quite a few heroes here in this nerf section.
This is the area effect on the ground damage, though, so you'll now be taking 2 less when you're standing in his previously stunning skill shot that became a pile of spikes. It's kind of hard to see, so maybe that's why the damage is going down. The slow is still 30%, lasting for the Bed of Barbs 3.5 seconds. This is an amazing thing to combo later on with something like Acid Drip Mandibles, or to control an area like you might on Brax's Holdout. I've even seen it used popularly. I don't know how useful it is on Infernal Shrines to kind of help get in those final hits when it comes to the skeletons in the pit. My philosophy on poison damage on Infernal Shrines is no, please, because it's just going to weaken something up for something like an Illidan to come by and sweep it all up. I want burst damage or heavy, strong sustain, so I guarantee those collections.
That's a very good thing to bring up. But yeah, extra damage is always good. 23 to 21, that's fine. The damage wasn't the only reason you were taking Bed of Barbs for before anyway. As you mentioned, that 30% slow combos well with many things, including some of Anubarak's own talents. So, also at level 7, chitinous plating, the cooldown reduction has been increased from basically from 3/4 of a second, because 0.75 just doesn't read well, to 1 second.
This is the talent where you take ability damage, you get a sooner shield to give yourself more support. on your own character. Really powerful previously against characters like Li Ming, Disintegrate, because that is just going damage repeatedly. And this could mean that he has a better place against things like Genji or any future ability dot damage kind of heroes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good thing to keep in mind. Still taking Subterranean Shield in most of my games, but I like that change.
I don't think we should be married to Subterranean Shield, but it just does what you want the shield to do in the first place. Because you used to be invincible. To go old man uphill both ways here, we used to walk downhill both ways on an Uberak. You would dive underground, he'd be unstoppable and protected. Now you can die when you go underground. It feels horrible. You almost got away. And a 350-point shield is fantastic.
I got caught in an Arthas Howling Blast while underground this week, I believe. I think it was the first time I saw that happen.
What?
Am I thinking crazy, or am I thinking something else?
You must have surfaced, because you are unstoppable during that
Must have
time.
been an animation bug then, because, yeah, like it still looked like the spines were coming out of the ground, and I knew I had never seen it before. I'm like, when the hell did this happen?
Yeah, things can also get weird if your burrow would end inside a wall and it pops you up early. So maybe it was just a lucky shot.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. It was on Hanamura, so maybe things were funky. I meant to ask you about that. Why not? We'll bring it up in public now, and everyone can tell me I'm dumb. So. All right, Sonya, finally. Last thing to talk about here before we get into some of the new stuff. Whirlwind, the cooldown has been increased by 1 second.
That's sizable.
Very much so.
This is your survivability talent. It's very easy to get off a good rhythm anyway while whirlwinding, because your damage output can be rather low unless you're sitting on a level lead. We're going to see a lot of dead Sonyas just because of this.
100%. Because if you've played Sonya long enough, you have learned a cadence, like a muscle memory, that I can go in, I can engage, I can do this, that, and the other, and I know, you just feel it. All right, it's up. I can start spinning, survive, escape, or survive to go deeper. And this is going to throw you off your game.
I wonder if we'll see a huge surge in players picking Hurricane, the one that removes the slows and roots that you often pick against something like Malfurion. But it also, part of it is it reduces the cooldown by 1 second.
Yeah, I've been like blindly taking it lately because Malfurion is everywhere. So nothing has really changed there for me. But yeah, absolutely. I still like Sonya, still playing a lot of Sonya. I think she's still very strong, but this is, if you've been playing her for a while or just quite a bit recently, this is going to have to take some training to relearn. So good luck, everyone. I will be there right there with you, sweating and cursing as I hit E and nothing happens. All right, let's talk about D.Va, Kyle. She is out on the PTR. I've had a chance to play her, and wasn't exactly what I expected, but I am pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, my most played Overwatch hero, and it was tough to translate. Zarya taught me how to play Zarya in Overwatch, coming from Heroes 2 there. Tracer I just never really touched until she was in this game, but the fundamental top-down view of not being able to hide as a little girl just threw me for a loop, and I had no idea what to do with this character. I didn't know what I was supposed to do with her. She's low damage, but then the pilot mode is really high damage. Eventually, I figured it out, thanks to some talents that put me in the right mindset.
Okay, very cool, because I haven't figured out what to do with her, but I've just been messing around with her on the PTR, trying to just figure out how she plays, and the answer is very different from what it feels like to play D.Va in Overwatch, because I'm with you. If I had to pick one hero that was my favorite, I think I'd go with D.Va. I really like D.Va, played a lot of games with her in Overwatch. And so far, you've heard us say time and time again on this show, every time an Overwatch hero comes, that we're just floored by how seamless it seems. That was awful wording. That they translate a hero from Overwatch into Heroes of the Storm. You see that with StarCast back in the day all the time. She feels it's very different, but it makes so much sense when you think about the concessions that they had to make for the purpose of a top down of an RTS. At the end of the day, yes, it's a MOBA, but we're talking StarCraft 2 engine type stuff here. So I actually wanted to intro this hero a little bit different than we usually do, and to talk about some of the just basic core things I've noticed with her, and also if you haven't played her, have a chance to play her yet, some things you should be looking at. And this is some really basic level stuff, guys. The first thing you're gonna notice is just no mana. There is no energy to speak of, except for one thing. There is one bar to be filled because it starts empty, and that is your ult percentage for self-destruct, and that is the thing that is the most one-to-one from Overwatch. Probably is like it starts at 0. You have it from level 1. You need to do damage to charge it up. It takes a long time to charge up, and you can slam your E and self-destruct, and it does a lot of damage, Kyle.
It does, and it's very loud because this is a top-down game. I've died quite a few times to a sneaky explosion in Overwatch. Here, everybody knows it's coming.
Yeah, it's still pretty loud in Overwatch, but as loud as I think something can be in a first-person shooter where you're not seeing everything all the time because you have a narrow cone of vision. But yeah, it's extremely loud here. It does not appear to kill D.Va, I noticed.
It does not hurt her at all, no.
No, in no way, shape, or form. One of the times I felt like I didn't make it out. So every time I did this, by the way, I just started running for the hills because I love the visual. It shows a giant radius where it's going to be happening, and then there's an inner radius that inflates, basically gets larger and larger and larger. And when it hits the outside, that's your timer. It's over. The explosion happens. So I every time this happened, I ran for the hills, and one of the times I felt like I didn't make it. And I'm like, oh my god, I could have sworn I was going to die from that. And then the next time I did it, I just willingly stood in it, and I'm like, oh my god, this doesn't kill you, which is something is burned into me from playing D.Va in Overwatch. So that's an interesting change.
It would have been horrible with the way this game has levels in the first place. Can you imagine? You drop your bomb, you think you're going to do something awesome, and they stun lock you inside your own explosion. Yeah,
I'm sure many reasons they did that. That's one of them. The other is in Overwatch, you have verticality to deal with, so there's you can jump down or run up to get away from things, all that kind of stuff. So I think I understand why that concession was made. But anyway, moving on.
You also just don't get 4 levels up and stop caring about what the enemy team's doing and just snowball into their faces.
That too. Whatever the case is, moving on. She can fire while moving. Actually, she can do her 2 main kind of core things while moving, that and the defense matrix, which we'll talk about later. But her guns deal damage to the primary target, but also to any enemies within a sizable rectangle in front of D.Va. And this is something that, for whatever reason, I didn't think was going to be a thing. I figured it should be more like Tracer. Like, yeah, she can fire while moving, but only on one target.
Yeah, and, they are like little mini shotgun machine guns, so they do area effect damage, and here they do as well. So Zarya's beam, about the same size, but wider.
Yes, and it's doing very small amounts of damage, but steady, and any damage outside of your primary target, it's not diminished in any way, shape, or form. It does the same amount of damage to what you're focusing on as anything else caught in the crossfire, which I thought was very cool.
It's important to note here that D.Va, in her mech form, does have a 15% decrease in her movement speed. So she can be very frustrating, but the kite won't last forever with this auto attack.
Yeah. I'm also hearing from the chat room that apparently they patched out D.Va's ult killing her in Overwatch. Well, I don't do an Overwatch show anymore.
There we go.
I didn't know that.
And that's nice. I like that. In Overwatch, you have walls and stuff like that, so I just go hide behind one of those.
Yeah, I don't like that, man. I liked the flavor of that. I also liked all the people trolling who would get play of the game and do like the emote in the middle of their explosion.
And then their body would go flying.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I'm going to miss those days. Anyways. There is no quick way of moving around the map when you are in mech form, other than boosters, which is her Q ability, which they're on a rather long cooldown if you're using them to move around the map. Now, you can talent into it to reduce that cooldown if you use the boosters out of combat. And I will say, it's pretty lax on what it considers out of combat. because I did take that talent. I like disengaged a Genji and used my boosters, and I'd probably gone like a second without taking damage, and my cooldown was only 5 seconds at the end of the boost.
With the boosters, there is a global cooldown underneath it where you have to be engaged in the boost for at least a second. So could be that maybe you're protected during that time. Who knows? Not protected status, just this, like many of our talents that say, Asmodan has to get a final kill, has to kill the guy with his globe. But actually, there's like a fourth of a second wiggle room there.
Oh, yeah. Fair enough. She can also push people with her boosters. It does damage. I could not, for the life of me, push someone more than once with the same boost.
Right, you can't.
Yeah, because the boosts do last for a decent amount of time, but it is rather challenging to even attempt to hit the same target twice because you kind of got to loop around and whatnot. But it doesn't. You can't hit them twice, and it also does not stun them if you push them into a wall with the ability.
No, which I am very happy because I don't want to face 10-second cooldown Chen in this game. Oh my goodness, barrel rolls always.
Right.
So basically what you're doing is sort of flying around the side often and then coming from behind and pushing them back into your team.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm so glad the first place your brain went, because when the first thing I did was go into try mode and be like, can I use this as a mini Chen? And the answer is no. You get one little push out of it, and there you go. But, I mean, we've had Lucio in the game for a while now, and one little push sometimes it all takes.
Yes. Yeah, now Alarak, Lucio, and D.Va, there's going to be a lot of little pushings going around.
Yeah. I ended up in a game against a Sergeant Hammer, so I took the talent where your push pushes them back further. It was so annoying. Or I feel like it was so annoying. It was really cute. Every time a Sergeant Hammer would siege up, I just went and pushed them, and they went back further than usual. And they'd always be... Because, a good Sergeant Hammer puts himself in a safe place, right? So they're going to be right at the edge of being useful. So you just push them back, and you feel like a jerk and laugh. I loved it. That being said, you're not going anywhere fast after you do that. You're going to have to walk out very slowly.
You will. And the combination of the boosters with the defense matrix, which we'll get into the particulars of that in a second here, makes her a disruption tank. Very different than your CC tanks. You are basically going to go in, bump as many people as possible in a 5v5 fight, just to possibly get one in a bad position. But also, when you push people, you stop them from attacking. There is a moment, briefly, this is why Chen's barrel can be so frustrating, where you're silenced, in essence, as you are pushed backwards.
Yeah, it's an interrupt of sorts in how it functions. I'm waiting for... I was not able to make this happen, but I'm waiting for these perfect wombo combos, this Avengers-style play where you use the boost to, like, perfectly nudge people on an angle all inwards into some circle of death.
I did pull it off with a mosh pit this week.
Oh, really? Oh, that had to be disgusting.
Granted, probably the easiest one to do with, right? I mean, it's sitting there very loudly for a full 4 seconds.
I'm really excited about the making up for a misplaced Ring of Frost. That's the one I'm excited about. If you see because there's that delay before it hits, right? You see the ring appear, and if you've played a lot of Jaina before and you're on D.Va, you're just like, I got your back, buddy. And you push him into the Ring of Frost.
D.Va is absurdly powerful on Battlefield of Eternity. On the PTR right now, there is no map rotation, and I got to play her here versus real players multiple times, and oh my god.
I also got to play on Infernal Shrines, and I'm curious where you're going to go. The first thing I noticed was that self-destruct covers the Infernal.
Yeah, and then on Battlefield, it basically says, hey, everybody stop attacking. Even if it doesn't kill them, it gives a pushback, which still
not the
interrupts
Infernal.
them.
I meant the Immortal. Sorry, my brain.
Oh no, I know we're talking about two different maps here at the same time.
No. I meant to say Battlefield of Eternity, and the self-destruct radius pretty much covers the Immortal area.
So we are talking about the same.
Yeah. I'm a little loopy. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. We're both medicated here. It's all we're all sickies here. Now, you also have your defense matrix, which you can just drop on top of people who are trying to stand still in DPS and Immortal.
Yes, you can, and so this is probably the biggest the biggest change, I think, from feeling from Overwatch into Heroes of the Storm is the way Defense Matrix works. Although I have no idea how it would have worked otherwise, because in Overwatch, it is a frontal cone. You put it out, and any projectiles that would hit you within that cone are just intercepted, basically, by the Defense Matrix. Here, it's this frontal cone, and you literally have to kind of baby it. You have to guide it. It's like you're trying to keep your enemy in a box. But once you hit it, it's already in the direction that you're facing, and you can't turn it. You can walk and move, but you can't actually pivot to change the direction or the angle of your cone. But you can, move it, on an X, Y, Z, etc. axis.
You know when Tychus does his overkill and then runs away from people, and there's no one around anymore, but he's still stuck walking backwards, firing forwards? That's what you look like during Defense Matrix.
Yeah.
You are locked into the direction that you initially engage the box. And it is disappointing. And really added to my struggle with figuring out what D.Va was for before I really made this connection that she was a disruption tank. Until she's a pilot and her DPS is amazing. Still a little lost on that aspect of it.
Yeah, it makes me...
This is one of those disruption things.
You're absolutely right. Your whole thing is to kind of change the rules. Say, hey, all your understanding of how your hero works, I'm going to throw that out the window, because you're going to not be standing where you thought you were. Even if you are able to stand and deliver, I'm going to cut that down by 75% with Defense Matrix. It's the perfect word for it. Now let's talk about pilot.
Your word choices there, though, are excellent and really frightening, because stand and deliver is what I love to do. Loving my Raynor, loving my Zul'jin. I'm always a little concerned about movement creep in this game right now, and I think this punishes immobile characters maybe too much. If you're Zul'jin and you're attacking D.Va and she puts up a Defense Matrix, 75% damage reduction if you're standing inside there. Not to D.Va, to everybody. If you're inside that zone, you will have to pick up your axes and walk completely out of that area. More points to Vala, because she can vault sideways. Those are the things I'm concerned about.
Yeah. I mean, that being said, it seems, again, new hero, not even a live game, don't know, have nothing to go off of, but my initial reaction is that Defense Matrix overall is clumsy. It is difficult to use correctly. Because of the fact that you can't actually turn while you're using Defense Matrix, you really have to be on point with this. You have to baby it. And honestly, I feel like if you're a good Cassia, that you're going to be pretty good with Defense Matrix, because you're going to know the importance of the angle from which you start your frontal cone ability, because Cassia's E, it's your angle of engagement is what dictates the space your cone will be taking up, and it's the exact same thing with the Defense Matrix here, only you have the added bonus of being able to move afterwards, but it's still going to be facing the same direction, which I think is super cool. It seems clumsy to me, but then if I thought about it, once I started thinking about it as I do Cassia's E attack, I'm like, you know what? No, actually, that's fine. I'm already trained to think this way. I just need to think about this one ability, like I think about Cassia, and then be happy that I can actually strafe a little bit once it's active.
It is a little disappointing to not negate a justice from above, though, into nothingness in your Defense Matrix.
Yes. Well, what do you want there, Kyle? We'll just have to wait until Pharah is added to Heroes of the Storm.
And then she'll still get 25% of the damage through.
And she'll no. The point you're making is, and you're just not saying is, she still looks really cool even if she's not doing a lot of damage. The Pharah in this hypothetical where she exists in Heroes of the Storm, because the attacks are still going out. They're throwing nerfs instead of actual axes. Whatever the case is. Let's talk about pilot mode real quick. You keep coming back to it. So what is it, Kyle? Is it just the high damage? Is it the fact that you can't hide in a hallway?
That's the weird. Like, I don't feel the pistol was good in Overwatch, and I keep talking about this game like I know something about hardly anything. I play it for fun with friends, but I cower in a corner until my mech is ready, and usually using a doorway and then walking around the side. So I've got this tiny little crack. I'm just firing my little bullets through, maybe to just catch feet as people walk by, as I struggle to get back into a mech. Here in Heroes of the Storm, It is a tactical choice. And to sort of describe the engagements I had on Battlefield of Eternity, my whole team would go on DPS. I would go on defense for as long as my mech could last. Defense matrix reduced that damage they were dealing by 75%, locking people inside. Those immobile characters have to run, which completely negates their damage altogether because they're now in motion rather than attacking. I would go down right before I do, pop my self-destruct, turn to a little girl and run for it. But that was an amazing choice because I need to be a little girl pilot mode because my damage on the Immortal with auto attacks is absurd. Really, really good in pilot mode.
It's strong. It's very strong. I'm curious, Kyle. This is the question I want to put out. It's not a complaint. It's just something that made me go, whoa, when I thought of it, and everyone else might think it's dumb. But do you think D.Va would have looked like this if they weren't trying to make this feel like D.Va from Overwatch? Do you think they even would have had a pilot mode?
Interesting. So if they sort of went out of their way to just make a mech character, they made the Goliath. She's got a skin for it. So they made a Goliath, and are they stuck in those design choices because of Overwatch? Is that what you're asking?
Sort of, kind of. Actually, my question, do you think this hero would have looked like this had they not had D.Va as the template?
I don't think you land on this by designing a character. D.Va is such a bizarre one. In fact, all the Overwatch characters are really bizarre because they don't have their own stories. Some of them have had minor bits in comics here, been a part of someone else's cinematic, but we haven't gotten everybody's story yet. D.Va is a culmination, a coagulation of memes and the culture that's grown around Overwatch. When I think about D.Va, she's really boring. I mean, boosting, okay, cool in a 3D environment. Defense matrix, why would I want that? Initially playing Overwatch, then you discover it's amazing. Self-destruct, and then you turn to pilot. But it's that interaction with the pilot mode that makes D.Va such a fascinating character and why she's my favorite to play in Overwatch.
Yeah. If we want to go down that road, for me, it really does capture why I like a lot of mech anime. Is there is that duality of who the pilot is outside of the suit and who they are in the suit. And I think they've actually managed to capture that in gameplay with, as you brought up so eloquently, no frickin' lore to go off of.
Well, and you're right there, too, because so much of the excitement of watching these anime characters and their robots is oftentimes, same with shows like Firefly, getting to see the crew inside the ship just hanging out, getting to see the pilot get in a kung fu battle while he's outside of his mech trying to get on board.
Yeah. Now to bring it back around, because I feel we've trailed off. My point really was, do you think we would have even, because in the mech, we just had a 20-minute conversation about how you can play this mech, our first impressions on how we think you should play this mech, and it does actually fulfill a tank-like role and does it very well, and there's a specific way to play it, and it all works, and that alone, to me, I look at and go, that could be a hero by itself. So my question really was, do you think there would have even been this pilot mode, this essential second life, which Team 1 has just fought back against ever since they realized, oh crap, Tychus is absurd. If you remember, Odin used to be a second life bar. Do you think we would even have this pilot mode, the second life bar, without Overwatch preceding this hero?
That's an interesting question, and we're going to have to treat D.Va very much the same way that you would duel a Dahaka in lane. Don't trade your health for Dahaka's health. It is a horrible idea. If you are solo laning, he is going to get essence and likely have a full-blown heal by the time you've even worked him down far enough. This is why Anubarak not only performs well against double support, but great with double support because he's got a lot of resistance, but no way to get his health back. With D.Va, you can 100% make a critical error by taking out the mech at the start of fights. You are going to waste cooldowns. You're going to blow some valuable spells, and she's going to keep going. You get half XP for killing the mech. Not when it self-destructs. That is, at will. But if the mech goes down, you still get half XP, but you've wasted that much. Getting rid of 4,000 hit points in the late game is a huge task. And it's going to be extremely expensive. So a disruption tank that we don't quite want to kill is amazing. And I think they may have invented a better Tyrael.
Ooh. Now you're going down a road I did not see. I would have driven right past this.
Well, that's the idea, right? You kill Tyrael, you kill Diablo with these death trade guys, and you go, oh, we targeted the Tyrael. We messed up. He blows up. He kills everybody. Or, in my favorite way to play Tyrael, he blows up on his own team and gives them a 50% life shield. And I love that. I really dig death abilities. But the scariness of the damage of her pilot mode means that you may not want to destroy her, but at the same time, she's so in your face reducing your damage, you're going to destroy her. This is going to take a lot of work.
Yeah, if she takes off running next week when she goes live, we're going to have to learn a new game. If D.Va is on the other team, you're going to have to play heroes differently.
And that's important to say no matter what happens, because if she is amazing and takes the ban slot, something gets through and our meta changes yet again.
That's a very good point as well. But I don't think any hero that's going to get through is going to change the way you actually micro as much as D.Va will.
Let's talk about some of these odd interactions because they are bizarre.
Okay.
First of all, she does have a mount when she's in pilot mode. You can hang out there as long as you wish. When you are knocking back heroes, we talked about being able to knock them only once, but you can also deactivate it after a second, and you can also use boost while you activate the self-destruct. So you boost in, activate self-destruct, as though from radio transmitter you can even cancel that boost early to drop it exactly where you want. That body is a full-blown character. The detonating mech functions just like any other hero in the game does. It can be pushed by Alarak. It can be mighty gusted. It can be hooked by Stitches. It can be gorged by Stitches. Please don't. It still explodes for full damage in the same area. You will likely walk it into your team if you eat it. You don't just burp smoke. It kills everybody. And any interaction I haven't mentioned there that pushes, pulls, stuns work, roots work. If you boost D.Va's mech into an enemy team while it's self-destructing, and Malfurion throws down a root, it'll stop on the roots and not continue for its full boosted duration. And if Uther stuns it as it starts to fly by, it'll stop and continue self-destructing right where he stunned it.
Jeez, I didn't realize any of this, really. That thing about the Stitches Gorge is hilarious. Does it still show the explosion radius when it's in his belly?
No, that disappears.
Oh, so that makes it worse. That makes it way more dangerous.
Yes, it is very dangerous.
Oh, my Lord. Yeah, Scuds McKenzie in the chat room with you. Incoming Stitches trolls.
Could be, right?
Yeah, that's...
Check this out about Defense Matrix, though. It is not a snapshot DPS. Snapshot DPS is when you are going to make a summon, and you, like World of Warcraft, pop all your buffs in one go. So you are now sitting on, for instance, 2,000 bonus damage. That summon is a snapshot of that buff you had, so that's a great time to put out your summons. Defense Matrix is, I'm going to call it a tether. I'm going to coin that term. It is tethered DPS. If you are Kael'thas and you shoot a Pyroblast at somebody on my team, I will not Defense Matrix you during your cast. I will not Defense Matrix you while it's flying in the air. I have to Defense Matrix you when the Pyroblast impacts.
So you have to time it, or as long as your Defense Matrix is affecting Kael'thas when it impacts. Because it lasts for multiple seconds. So it's not like you have to time it immediately, right? You could lead it by an extra second or two.
Right. We tested this by getting a Tracer on a mount with her dashes and getting her to run as fast and as far away as possible. And I just sat by the Kael'thas while this happened, put the Defense Matrix on the moment of impact, and that reduced the damage by 75%. Wow. Not before, no other time. If, let's say, Chromie is casting her W up in the air, Dragon's Breath goes up, but then Defense Matrix fails right then. When it comes back down, the tether is gone. That deals full damage.
Okay, so as long as she is within the area of the Defense Matrix, when the W lands, the damage is reduced.
Exactly.
Same thing with Kael'thas, same thing. Okay, so any of these delayed things, this would even actually work for Tyranda's Lunar Flare. It's a small delay, but it is still a delay.
Right, or spell or poison damage. If Lunara gets a bunch of stacks on you, those appear to be reduced. Lunara used to be a big pick on Battlefield of Eternity and actually faced one there. Reducing her poison damage and her auto attacks was huge.
Right. I mean, it's okay. Yeah,
So
but
even if the ability has a secondary effect, that damage will be reduced if they're inside the zone.
That's all very cool. Two things there. I like that it's just consistent. It's just straight up. Yeah, it's just 75%. Doesn't matter if it's poison. Doesn't matter if it's auto attack. Doesn't matter. None of this. No special treatment. It's just 75% reduced. You can take that information and understand it immediately. But I like that added nuance of if there's a delay, the point of impact, the point of the damage actually being doled out is what is important, not the projectile being cast.
And makes it easier ultimately because now it's reactive, and with this information you can arm yourself and put it out at the right time.
Yeah, I like that. Very cool. My God, this is a meaty show. Do you want to save any further D.Va chat for next week, and we can move on to these reworks
Absolutely.
that I really want to get into, especially one of them specifically.
Let me go ahead before we end our D.Va section here and recommend 2 talents to people. And this is something you should do for yourselves when you're picking up a new hero. Pick all the passives. Don't pick new buttons. Don't make it harder for yourself. Just pick all the lame passives, and you'll have an easier time. Here's 2 talents that are going to make playing D.Va really, really easy. Level 1 Crash Course. Horrible, horrible talent for the most part. All the pros agree. Boosting into 25 heroes gives you a reward of now if you bump into hero, you get a 1-second cooldown. It's not a great talent. But you know what's going to make you do? Boosted 25 heroes in the early game and basically run around like a jackass. And that's what you should be doing. You're a disruption tank, after all. Then at level 13, go ahead and grab yourself emergency shielding. There is a fantastic talent, level 13, that reduces damage even further. You will take that later on. Emergency shielding gives you a small shield instead of dying. This allows you to pop your self-destruct with a little bit of wiggle room. In Overwatch, if you're going to go down, you can slam that button and often get it off because it has a little bit of like time. Heroes, she's out immediately. You don't have that luxury. So this tiny little shield that comes in will give you the moment you need to activate.
Yep.
After you've played her for enough, get rid of these training wheel talents and try something else.
Yeah. I've yet to take anything else on level 13, by the way. I'm glad we landed on the same level 13 talent. All right, let's talk about the reworks. These are not live, by the way, as neither is D.Va. Starting with Alarak. Massive rework to Alarak. And as we've kind of alluded to now, he was complicated before, he's more complicated now. It's not going to get any easier for Alarak players out there. So let's start with the straight sadism, which this was teased actually to us at the summit. It wasn't live. In the build there, we weren't able to see. We didn't know it was coming, but it was teased, I believe, by Ken Eric, as a matter of fact. It was like, hey, there's something coming. There's something coming for sadism. We managed to squeeze that out of him, but now we know what it is. It has new functionality. Alarak gains 3% sadism per enemy takedown up to a maximum of 30%. And before you start partying, you snarky Protoss out there, this bonus is lost on death.
Originally, sadism was made so Alarak wouldn't have too much lane clear, they were telling us. And as they finally figured out that they could use sadism to increase your spell damage versus heroes, they started playing with it and allowing it to move up or down based on talents. Now it feels like it's really come home. And if you can go without dying, and this is going to be Kael'thas levels of trying not to die as the late game comes on, you can have some rather absurd power.
Yeah, except Kael'thas has the luxury of his abilities having great range.
And
Alarak,
he's usually surrounded by a lot of people who want him to live.
yes, Alarak still has Discord Strike. It's better because the double cross functionality is now baseline. It's there. You've got your Kylo Ren lightsaber right out the gate, but you still have to get close with this thing. So
Lightning Surge is probably the most reworked talent outside of the base trait.
Yes.
Or skill, I should say.
Yes. 5 mana, chipped off. Massive damage reduction from 100 down to 62. But it's the adjusted functionality that requires the most eyeballs. Enemies hit by the center of the beam now take 100% bonus damage. And this is a point-and-click spell. So at least your target of it should hopefully be getting hit by the center of it. But I like the idea of the splash damage being more effective if you're really good at drawing lines, basically. Healing is no longer based on the amount of damage done to enemy heroes. Enemy heroes hit now heal Alarak for 70 health.
70 health, but remember that his sadism increases the damage and healing he receives from his spells.
Yes.
So really from the get-go, you're going to be getting about 140, which is great. It is sad because future heroes could come out augmenting his spell damage, meaning that we could have had a super heal Alarak at some point. They went ahead and nerfed that right now before it could even be a possibility.
Yeah. Still, though, I think this is cool. Like you said very early on in the game, in the show, I don't even remember what exactly we were talking about, but you're talking about how you want certain things in the game to where if you are to separate the pros from the rest of us, right? And you were talking about talents, but Alarak now with these changes, it's a whole hero of this. The better
he's really hard, and I'm happy that I played old version Alarak because I really fell in love with him, his solo lane ability and his toolkit ability. The push that I wouldn't necessarily have to use for a combo, the silence that is good against frontline and anyone else if I can get a hold of them. The lightning that I could just spam on repeat into a hero's face over and over and over again. Those days are gone on the lightning front. Everything else is about the same. But the lightning front means that you really have to hit people in the center. And your quest talents, almost all your lightning talents, revolve around hitting people in the center. This gets a lot easier when you start either fighting in lane, someone who stands in the middle of minions, so you can actually hit the back minion and make sure you guarantee that center edge. So fighting something like Ragnaros just got a little easier, a little more detrimental to someone like Ragnaros. Fighting Dahaka got a little better. Fighting Sonya got a little better. Using walls is probably your best way to get this damage out in the early mid-game. The team will want to defend. They'll sort of ball up around the front of the gate, target the gate, and fire the lightning through them so you get those maximum stacks. But you're really going to have to develop an eye for this. And you should not, by any means, take Alarak whimsically. It should be a very planned, I've rehearsed this for weeks, and I'm prepared for Hero League.
Right. Because the way his trade works now. You're going in, there is no choice. You have to perform or you will suffer.
I think Alarak would like it that way.
I would too. It's hilarious that the lore is reinforcing the game design here, and vice versa. This feels like Alarak, but you're absolutely right. This is going to be an investment in learning how to play him well, and you're gonna be rewarded if you do. This is a hero that really lives and dies on your own personal ability to play him correctly.
Yes,
and that's cool.
And it gets even scarier because now you're gonna die and lose that sadism. At level 13, you have a required sadism choice between hitting enemies with auto attacks, oddly enough, having your allies die anywhere on the map, actually, giving you power, and then probably the coolest one, Rite of Rakshir. I just have to say it like Alarak does. Mark an enemy hero, hitting them with Discord Strike or killing them grants you sadism. And they're aware of it. They see the symbol above their head. They know you're coming for them. This is on a 300-second cooldown, this mark. And until he kills that hero, it'll slowly go down. If he gets the kill, it goes to 10 seconds. So you know exactly who Alarak wants to kill, and until he's probably got a hold of you, that mark isn't going to move.
Yeah, that's a very cool, very unique talent. I like it quite a bit. Okay, cool. Can we move on to what I was the most excited to talk about today?
Of course. We can talk about Tyrande now.
Yes.
I'm done with my Alarak list.
All right, fantastic. That's good. This worked. This worked out really. They couldn't have picked a better two heroes, I think, short of a few months ago when it was the Arthas and an Uberek train, and you and I were just here just like, two of our favorite heroes getting reworks. Same thing this week. You're an Alarak fan. I'm a big Tyrande fan. And, boy, Tyrande. I'm so excited about this. Basic attack damage reduction, nobody cares. I don't care. Don't even look at the number. It doesn't matter. Let's talk about Light of a Loon. It is very different. Very different. Still a Q. It's still a small heal, but it no longer heals you when you heal allies. The cooldown is now lowered by 2 seconds every time you land a basic attack. 2 seconds, Kyle.
Everything we talk about today should really have that on it. Even if it doesn't actually do anything with basic attacks, Tyrande has to basic attack now to get her biz done.
100%. A heal amount also has been reduced. So to reiterate, it is not healing you anymore unless you self-cast it. And the healing amount has been reduced from 320 to 270. This is a small heal. The cooldown also has been increased from 8 up to 12. But again, every basic attack you land takes that down by 2 seconds. You can even make it faster with talents. And the mana cost is now tiny. They took it from 45 down to 25, Kyle. I love this. Like right here. We could stop right here. We could have a whole big discussion. But there's other things to talk about. Right now, though, this change alone changes so fundamentally how Tyrande is played that I love it. I really like the influence here of every hero that's come out since the Tech Alpha launched, because Tyrande has been with us that long.
And I'm extremely pleased that Uther sort of stole her thunder with the Light of a Loon, because he's frontline. He's melee, in a sense. So now Tyrande has lost that ability. I gotta say it again, man. If you cannot get auto attacks out, Tyrande will not be putting out the healing numbers you need at all.
No,
you need to make sure you're going against double immobile tank like Arthas and someone else who just walks really slow that you're just going to be able to wail on.
Actually, there's not a lot in the world of excuses for getting your cooldown reduced on your Light of a Loon, because this is not specifically basic attacks to heroes. This is basic attacks to anything that will take a basic attack. You can hit a wall, and it will reduce the cooldown of your heal. Minions, fair game. Forts, structures, doesn't matter. Anything you can hit with a basic attack reduces the cooldown of your Light of a Loon. This thing can be going off constantly.
That's true. I'm thinking more in lines of sort of our current map rotation, but we were flirting with, future thoughts of Battlefield of Eternity earlier. That kind of provides you a target to auto attack repeatedly, doesn't it?
100%. Absolutely. Yeah, if you're in an alcove trying to secure a curse, you have to be wailing on a hero as Tyrande, but you should have been doing that anyway. So
Fair enough.
I think it's totally fine. Moving on. Sentinel, the Owl, W, has some added functionality as well. This is built in, by the way. This is not a talent. It has a baseline quest, Kyle, to hit heroes with Sentinels, and you are rewarded every 8 heroes you hit. Every time you hit 8 heroes with Sentinel, it allows it to pierce 1 target and lowers the mana cost by 10, and you can keep completing this.
And eventually it'll be free and it'll pierce everybody.
Yep. It's disgusting. And there's still talents to reduce the cooldown on Sentinel. So, mind blown here.
This is great. They took basically the Sentinel build and gave it to Sentinel.
Yeah.
So now you actually have talent diversity.
Yeah, exactly. It's just there. It's here's the stuff you wanted. Get creative later on. I love it. Shadowstalk. Completely different now. It's a completely different ability. This is heroic. Now Tyrande gains stealth, just Tyrande, and 30% movement speed. And then when stealth is lost, she gets to keep that movement speed, but she also gains 50% attack speed for 5 seconds. Oh, and that's not all, Kyle. The cooldown is 30 seconds.
The stealth is also infinite.
Yes,
it has no timer on it.
It is perma-stealth until you break it.
Yep, you are moving at mounted speeds for as long as you can keep this going. And after it's broken, as we just said, it continues on for 5 seconds. They did remove sprint. So this is a cute little way to work it into an ability. It is only affecting you now.
Mm-hmm.
You will not be giving any sort of healing through this ability. You will not be giving anything to your allies at all.
Yep, I actually jumped in and just tried her and didn't even read what was happening. I just saw the 50% attack speed and for 5 seconds, and so I used it. I'm just like, why aren't my allies getting healed? Why aren't they stealth? And I actually read it. And I'm like I really read it. I'm like, oh wow, this is way different. Then I realized it was up every 30 seconds and it was perma stealth. And as you said, you're literally running around on foot at mounted speed when you are stealth. I want to just be a lore nerd for 2 seconds. Dude, this is like the Night Elf fantasy. I love this so much.
I had thought about that, but you played a lot of Night Elf, and yeah, running at high speed through the woods, all stealthed up at night, that's their jam.
100%. This feels more Hunter to me than Rexar will ever, even has the chance to. Rexar has no hope of feeling this Hunter.
I can see that. I mean, he's a Beastmaster.
Yeah, but I still use a bow and whatnot. Whatever the case. Still, this is awesome. I love it. Good God. What a show today. And then finally, Starfall had its radius reduced from 6 down to 5. But that's totally fine because it has a level 20 talent that brings a tear to my eye, Kyle.
Yes. That's Celestial Wrath?
Yes. At level 20, there's Celestial Wrath. You can take it. And Starfall applies Hunter's Mark to all enemy heroes hit by it.
An untalented Hunter's Mark. It doesn't say that. There's a lot of really weird, cool things you can do to your Hunter's Mark with your talents. This will be untalented.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. I mean, if they're hit by it, it's even if it's an untalented, man, that's great. That's such a cool effect.
Yeah, 4 seconds, 25% more damage to them. It's great against everybody. It's like silence. Great against tanks, great against everybody. While probably not the best talent in the world, I think shooting stars level 20 is probably my favorite. Every 10th attack fires a free lunar flare.
The important thing to note here, it is a random lunar flare. It will just go to an enemy near you. I haven't tested it to see if it's always the closest, but it seems like it's just random.
That's true. I haven't tested against more than one target either, so I don't know the answer to that. It will appear on top of them. It doesn't lead them like you would cast your own, but this will, interestingly enough, mess with people's perceptions of your cooldowns because it's not a different color. It doesn't have, some sort of crazy yell to it that lets you know it's special. You could very much make an engage thinking lunar flares on cooldown.
I believe you're watching Tyrande. I don't think she does the animation where she fires it off. I think one just falls out of the sky.
That's true. Yeah, it just comes out of the sky. You're right. So you have to watch for that now.
But it's insanity. Again, this is level 20 too, but just level 20 as well. So it's not something you're going to be seeing a lot of, or sometimes in some games ever. So it's not something I think anyone's going to get trained to look for anytime soon. I'm not even sure it's a good talent, but it's really cool. But
probably my favorite talent in the whole darn bunch, which is hard to pick, is Huntress's Fury. And that particular one makes Hunter's Mark splash. Not that it spreads around the vulnerability, but if you're attacking your hunted target, your arrows split into an area effect around and deal that damage. Not increased.
Yeah, it's literally you're watching your basic attack, which is an arrow on Tyrande, split into however many arrows it needs to hit everything in range. It doesn't. I tried it against a full minion wave with multiple heroes. It does not seem to have a cap as to how many targets it can split to hit.
Of course, if the target dies, your talent ends early. But Punishers themselves defending that. Battlefield Return to Immortals. Can you imagine? You're going to be using Hunter's Mark on it anyway. Now you're going to hit those targets who are trying to defend.
Yeah. And with if you take Shadowstalk and you have 50% increased attack speed for 5 seconds coming out of stealth, it is insanity when combined with Huntress's Fury. It's so much auto attack going out.
I'm so happy to see Lily get nerfed right now. Tyrande's going to come in, though, and I think she may just make up for it in Lily Tyrande, Uther Tyrande. This could be a scary time because double support will be encouraged.
It could. Yeah, I'm very excited about the change. Tyrande is has been one of my favorite heroes since the launch of the game, but the timing seems funky.
Yeah, and I don't know how she's going to play. I know how I want her to play, which is making sure she's always auto-attacking something, pumping out as many heals as possible. You have such cool, cute talents, like every time you put out an Elune heal on somebody, they get 15 spell armor, perhaps, and that can stack up to 4 times a 60% spell armor if you can keep getting those heals rolling out. There's lots of really cute stuff she can do, but all I see right now is Shadowstalk and Genji players going, oh man, I have a new main. I'm going to Shadowstalk in the back, and you're going, wait, where'd my heals? Come back.
Yeah, no. The Shadowstalk should, I think, be seen as a way to survive, not a way to engage. This is a hero that still wants to be in the back line supporting her team, because you should be landing those auto attacks, and there's no reason you need to be landing those auto attacks from behind your enemy. Are you insane? Stop it now.
Right. You'll be dead back there. You're still your old squishy self.
Exactly. There's no reason you should be doing that. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. You use the stealth to escape or to move quickly, and then you pop out of it and you mark something, and you actually are the force behind that kill. You're really a shot caller now as Tyrande, and I love it. Like, look for those hunter marks. Everyone out there, if there's a Tyrande on your team and you are not controlling them, attack that hunter's marked target, because Tyrande, if they took Shadowstalk, they're probably going to break their stealth, mark them, and unload, and that increased attack speed plus a stun if they're good with their lunar flare, plus anything you can lend is going to be a beautiful killing spree.
That's a really important thing to bring up right now in this time of lots of new players. Follow-ups. Hunter's Mark is a fantastic follow-up to an Artana snag, a Stitch's Hook, a Varian taunt. Anyone that you can already see locking onto a target. Just like blinds, you'll want to make sure that if you're going to use Hunter's Mark, people are attacking your target. If you're going to blind someone, make sure they're actually in range to do DPS, otherwise the spell will be wasted.
Yep. All very, very good stuff. I like that. Anytime you can kind of make up for uncoordination is a good thing in my book in a game like this where you're going to be playing pickup games. So it's like, oh, he hooked the tank and now everyone's attacking the tank. Well, actually, if I boost the damage, we're going to get the kill here, so why not? Who cares?
Yeah.
I dig it. So I'm so excited about this. Timing is funky. I don't think we need to be in a double support meta, but whatever the case is, I'm very, very excited about this Tyrande rework.
Yeah, and maybe we are moving away from the double support here, with Lily's nerfs and now Tyrande almost becoming a sort of assassin with a help button.
That's where she feels to me. We need new classifications for heroes, something fierce. But
yeah.
if nothing
Utility
else,
is what we're looking at here.
Worst case scenario, if we're gonna stick around in double support, if we're in a future where Tyrande is better than Lily, I'm okay with that, because Tyrande's harder to play than Lily. So I think if you're good at landing a skill shot, 2 skill shots, a stun skill shot and a damage skill shot, you should be rewarded versus hit Q and point and click a damage amplifying dragon onto somebody.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, I might be a little smug about my Tyrande love, but
well, we all have our preferences, of course.
Absolutely. So, good God, it's 90 minutes and we haven't even gotten the strategy yet. But before we do that, let's thank our patrons. Kyle, many of you are over at patreon.com/ITN right now supporting this show monetarily. We've already surpassed our goal to hit Dunk Train. We've moved past it a decent amount, which, as we mentioned last week, is always a great thing in case those dreaded credit card declines come. Keeps us above the goal. Really appreciate the support, everyone. It does so much to help us out. And this episode, let's thank Danny D, Ben K, Blood Anubis, hey man, Jeremy C, Fishy W, and Bjorn B. Thank you all so very much for the support. And also thank you to our producers, Declan H, Cheesy Bob, and Mythdoll. If you dig the show, check out patreon.com/ITN. Now, Kyle, let's talk about auto-attacking and why, even if you're not Tyrande, you should be doing it.
Choose a talent.
Choose a talent.
Talent? Ah, that seems generous.
I have a PhD in PvP.
So, Kyle, you came up with this little strategy talk today, and I was wondering if you would allow me to coin a phrase.
Sure.
Can we call this ABAA? Always be auto-attacking?
ABAA. So, ABA?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Nice and corporate.
Always be auto-attacking. Always. Always. So, I think it's a great thing to go into after talking about the new Tyrande, because the new Tyrande is the most obvious thing on the planet. If you look at how Light of Elune now works, you should be auto-attacking. If it wasn't obvious enough before, she had Hunter's Mark before. She could increase the auto-attack damage on targets. She should have been doing it anyway. But now your Q is made actually usable as opposed to the most laughable heal in the game as a result of auto-attacking.
And in particular, I wanted to bring this up this week. Granted, Lily got her nerfs, but I've been seeing a lot of spellcaster Lilies this week. And Lily has, on her kit, a pretty darn decent auto attack with good range and good damage. And to put it another way, if we're talking to World of Warcraft players here, pets in World of Warcraft, summons are like a dot nowadays. You attach them to a target and they'll just keep going. How good would your hunter DPS be if you didn't attach your pet? Even if you're not pet spec'd, you didn't attach a pet, your DPS is going to be awful. Think of auto attacks like a dot you are casting. They should always be flying. Funny enough, I was watching some of the Try Hard for Good, and the entire stream was like, LOL, Kael'thas auto attack hero. And I was like, well, yeah. And people were making fun of the guy, like he wasn't supposed to be in there. Well, yeah, it can be dangerous at times, but guess what? That's all DPS. That is a free, no mana cost dot that you are applying to the enemy's face. And depending on your role, those auto attacks may need to go into different characters. If you are Raynor, you are nothing but auto attacks. Do not put your auto attacks until you have Giant Killer into the tanks. It is a bad idea. It is low effectiveness. However, if you are Kael'thas, if you are Lily, a character who often has someone like Stitches in their face, auto attack them. They're standing right there. You have a free dot on your kit. Use it. It is effective damage, and it works well on tanks if you're not an assassin because it is free damage. Tanks want to absorb CC and burst.
All good points, and should be doing this on every hero. Safely, obviously. Like, I know, I just feels like the type of thing that we're going to get, like, emails about, but like the big blanket statement is here, do it when it's safe.
Exactly. We can say Focus Morales, but if Illidan by himself dives to the backline, he's going to get rocked. Don't get yourself in trouble getting out an auto attack. That's also to say someone like Chromie can maybe go a good chunk of the game without auto-attacking if you're not going to go Bronze Talons. To say someone like Sylvanas shouldn't be stutter-stepping, though, would be a huge error, because making sure her auto-attacks roll out, even though you have that while-moving quiver firing at the same time, her auto-attacks are great, and they turn off buildings as well, minions and everything else.
I frequently get asked, why am I... that's a brag, but I do get asked, why am I Sylvanas damage is high? This is why.
It's auto attacks, and Lily's damage is breaking 33,000 right now in most games because auto attacks. Without that, she's going to be around 25, which is still solid for a support, but you got to get them out. So, you've probably heard of the phrase stutter stepping. This is done with either the A button, your A on your keyboard. It means attack move. You will move to a location and attack anything you meet along the way. So, to stutter step easily and without a target in mind, right-click, A, right-click, A, right-click, A, and just go like that. Now I'm using quick casting here, so what you would be doing at home is right-clicking, A, left-click. Enough of that because this is a radio show. Or you can also use S.
Yes, S for stop.
That is my favorite way to do it because I am more concerned about my positioning on most spellcaster characters than I am about who I'm attacking. My spells are hitting the right targets. That's what matters. As long as my auto attacks are flowing and providing some DPS to something, I'm a happy man. So S allows me to stop, hold position, and make sure that I'm standing right where I want to be, and then my character won't accidentally chase somebody if they move out of my auto attack range.
That is the important thing with auto attack. Yeah, 100%, because it will engage you into the target, and then if the target moves, you will move to stay in range of that target.
Stutter stepping is also used aggressively to sneak in on a target. So if you are auto attacking someone as Vala, you will stutter step towards them, because if they start to leave your range, you will have to chase them. And if they meet that maximum range, your character will do this thing with their gun where they go, oh, no, wait, oh, no, wait, and you won't attack at all. So getting inside your maximum range means you do more DPS when they finally choose to run, most often meaning you actually complete the kill.
Yep.
That's fancy.
That is fancy, but that's the next level you can take yourself up to once you've gotten the hang of stutter stepping.
So to end this very short strategy segment, the thing I want you to do right now is maintain auto attack DPS while retreating. Stutter step when you run away. It is a huge amount of DPS, particularly on auto attackers. Use that stop, use that A. I prefer the stop. Make sure that DPS flows.
And again, As long as it's safe. We're not saying do that if you're the only one left alive and 3 of the 5 enemies coming towards you are on mounts. Mount up and run.
Lots of people bind their A button to their left click. So all they have to do is A, move. Exactly, just by using 2 fingers. It's a very easy way to start step. You may want to go through your options and set that up for yourself.
Yeah, I used to not be a fan of QuickCast. There's still certain abilities I don't have it turned on for, but I would highly recommend setting attack move, or A move, as we like to call it. And if you never knew what A move TV stood for, there you go. I think everyone should go out and at least make attack move QuickCast, so that when you hit A, it just issues the command wherever your cursor currently is to move and attack the first damn thing you come across. It's very helpful. Completely changed the way that I played this game once and it was an accident. I didn't know that turning on blanket quick casting was going to do that on attack move.
No, me neither. And it was actually a great increase in my DPS. When you remove a button click, you're taking away fractions of a second there. But those fractions of a second over a 25-minute game add up to be a ton of value.
Absolutely. So that's going to do it. That's been one of our most succinct strategy discussions yet. I liked it.
It is such a complex topic to talk about in a radio show. I wanted to make sure we blazed through it. I invite you all to head over to kyleferguson.com and check out the Learn to Play tab. I have made multiple videos on how to stutter step if you require some visual aid to get you to understand this mechanic.
I second that. And we're going to just move emails to next week because it's already been a long show and we're both pretty winded by now. So Dirk, tune in next week for your email, and keep those emails coming to itncast@gmail.com if you would like to get in on the podcast right here on Into the Nexus. That's going to bring us to the end of the show. Thank you again to our patrons, patreon.com/ITN. As we always mention, we kind of do this stuff for a living now, so every dollar that comes in over at the Patreon helps keep the lights on, to be completely honest. Helps a lot. So thank you all. Consider that if you enjoy the show. Check out our swag. We have shirts at shirts.amove.tv. We have glassware, cups, mugs, etc. over at etched.amove.tv. We record live every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/AmoveTV, and you can follow the show on Twitter at ITNcast. Lastly, I'd like to thank Gorath for our intro music and BrianGriffithMusic.com for our outro music. But before we go, Kyle, personal pimpage time, where can people find you?
You can find me. I'll pimp my Twitter this week. Find me over on Twitter at Kyle Fergusson, 2 S's in Fergusson. And though you'll be able to see, once you follow, all the shows that happen throughout the weeks, the live streams, this show when it goes live, and any posts I make.
Awesome. I highly recommend everyone go check that out. I really do. I think you put some pretty stellar stuff out into the world there, Kyle.
Oh, thank you.
Folks, I'm on Twitter at Garrett Art, 2 R's and 2 T's in Garrett, 1 R, 1 T in Art. Every podcast I do is at amove.tv. Check out for Azeroth, for World of Warcraft, Angry Chicken for Hearthstone, my solo show, The Angry Nerd, if you want to listen to me talk to myself. And finally, check out nomoonart.com. That is my graphic design portfolio. If you need a graphic designer, use the contact form over there. Let me know what your project is, and I'll send you a quote. That's going to do it for this week's episode of Into the Nexus. Thank you all very much for tuning in and listening. And until next time, good luck, have fun, and get those auto attacks in.
Take care.